The name be hood gonna live forever.
Ahayah or Ahayah? Ahayah Bahashem Yeshaya. We've heard this before, and ladies and gentlemen, it's time to address this once again. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been talking about this topic since maybe about 11 years now, maybe 10, 11 years. The last time I've spoken on this topic was about 2021. I did this video here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you. All right, so this one here, and the name of that video is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Judah the Shooter. I shoot out scripts, I shoot out information, and I'm a straight shooter, ladies and gentlemen. So, that being said, some of the things that I cover, if you see here, the subject here is Ahayah, God's name. Is the name Jesus giving homage to Zeus? Is Jesus a pagan name? Does Jesus mean earth pig? Is Jesus' name is Jesus' name Yeshaya? Then I said Ahayah, the sacred name of God. Does hallelujah means hail Satan? Does Yah have a special connection with Satan? What's the Father and Son name in Hebrew, in the Hebrew Bible? Is it okay to use the word Lord? And is Lord Baal or Baal? And in this, ladies and gentlemen, you would definitely come to a shock or surprise that a lot of the things you've been told and taught from grammatical, the Hebraic standpoint is not what you think that it is. Now, matter of fact, before I do, there's a brother here by the name of Elder Rakal of GOCC, and it's a little bit of what he said here.
Christ and the Holy Spirit came out of him. That's what makes him the great I am. He always existed.
All right, so he said that's what makes him the great I am, and then he said that he always existed. So if you're familiar with this camp, they refer to the Most High as Ahayah, all right, who some would say Ahayah, all right. Now, one of the things, if you go back and watch this video, they had a debate with the man James White. One of his sources that he used, one of his primary sources, his primary source was actually this book right here called The Illuminati 2. All right, and this here, we got time, we'll go over this. This is where you will read about the teachings. I don't want to give everything away. I kind of want to walk into this slowly, real quick. There was something else. I will not share this because it's not personal, but there's two brothers that were having a discussion about what we call Ahayah, Ahayah topic. And the brother said this. He said, this is the silliest argument. Y'all keep saying the same thing over and over again, like y'all can't teach anything else. He says, I have time today. Tell me, Hebrew scholar. Now, he wasn't talking to me, but to another brother. What he's Ayyeh, Asher Ayyeh, which he calls Ahayah Ahayah, mean in Hebrew? Give me the definition. He says, I'll wait. He says, let me add this here so it can be seen clearly in the Hebrew. It says, obviously people who speak and translate Hebrew recognize the name. Keep this in mind. Recognize the name, which is, he says, Ahayah Ahayah, or Ayyeh Asher Ayyeh. But he says that people who speak and translate Hebrew, they recognize the name. He says, now I'm waiting for the definition of Ayyeh Asher Ayyeh, or what he calls Ahayah Asher Ahayah. He says, been almost an hour now. All I got was a phone call, no answers, no pun intended. Well, brother, today's your lucky day because you'll have your question answered. And I'll show you far beyond a reasonable doubt the answer to your question. One of the things that really sticks out as well, he says, people who speak and translate Hebrew recognize the name. Now, he does have a screenshot. And when you see the screenshot, the verse that he highlights is Exodus 3 and 14 from a Hebrew speakers. Shemot, Sefer Shemot, Perek Gemel, Pasuk 14. Now, the verse he has highlighted says, Vayomer Elohim el Moshe Ayyeh Asher Ayyeh. Vayomer Kol Tomar Levnei Yisrael Ayyeh Shalachani Aleichem. And that's what we'll be going over, ladies and gents. So he does say that people who speak and translate Hebrew recognize the name. And that's very important, ladies and gentlemen, because that brings me to something called a noun. Now, I'm going to show you all grammatically the answer to the question regarding Ahayah, Ashar, Ahayah, or people who do biblical Hebrew, Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh. Grammatically. Okay, so a noun. Now, in case you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, and I have to say this, a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. Okay? A noun is a person, Tommy, a place, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, or a thing, phone. All right? I don't think anybody would dispute the fact that a noun was a person, place, or thing. A verb is also important to understand, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I have to say this, because if we know the difference between a noun and a verb, we can understand grammatically on what is the true name of the Heavenly Father, if it's Ahayah, Ashar, Ahayah, or Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh, or if it's Yehova, or whatever it is that you say. So, but before we do, we have to understand grammar. Question: what is a verb? We dealt with what a noun is, but now we got to deal with a verb. A verb is a word that expresses action, occurrence, state of being. In a nutshell, hit, throw, run, speak, exist, become, shall be. These are all verbs because something is happening or being described as happening. Now in Hebrew, ladies and gentlemen, it's important. In Hebrew, verbs are action oriented. All right. They describe what is happening, what will happen, aka what shall happen, what continues to happen. Hebrew does not focus on abstract the way Greek does. All right. So if somebody say, I will be, or I will continue to be, that's a verb. It's not a name. I repeat, that's a verb, not a name. It's going to be very important when we dive into this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So now I want to talk about stems. All right. STEM. All right. What is a verb stem? We learned what a verb is, but what is a verb stem? All right. Hebrew verbs don't just have tense. All right. They have stems called binyami. Binyami. And a stem tells you who causes the action, how the action happens, whether it's active or passive or intensified. Think of stems like modes of action, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you saw the video that I did, that I've been doing, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, let me pull it up real quick. If you've been seeing the videos that I've been doing, I actually been going over grammar, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back here. If you've seen this video here that I did 3 weeks ago, it's called The Virgin Birth, Greek and Hebrew Grammar Explained, The Kill Shot, and then I did a part 2 5 days ago. All right, and then I did a part 3 2 days ago. If you've watched these videos, this video is going to be even easier for you to understand what I'm speaking about when it comes to grammar, ladies and gentlemen. So we learn about a verb stem, right? One of the verb stems is called call. Call. Kind of like when those who speak Lashon Kodesh, they say call, halal, Yahweh, Bashem, Mashiach, Yahweh Shai. Call. All right. Now, what is the call stem? All right. The meaning of call literally means like simple. All right. But what a call does is very important. It is direct. It is the active action. The subject does the action themselves. Okay? Call, just a verb, no extras. Okay? Example. All right. You have the Hebrew root. You have kitav, he wrote. Ekal, he ate. Halach, he walked. All right. Ahayah, he was, he became. All right. So, that being said, when we look at the word, I'll just say ashar. All right. I'm sorry, Ahayah. All right. Instead of Ayyeh, I'll just say Ahayah because that is what resonates with you all. All right. So for now, I'll just say Ahayah instead of what the biblical text says Ayyeh, because I do know that some of you all deal with what's called Lashon Kodesh, which they call Holy and Pure Tongue, which we'll call Lashon Kodesh. So, Ahayah, all right, in the call stem, we've learned what a verb is. We learned what a call stem is, all right. You have a root word, hey, yod, hey, all right. Now, this form, Ayyeh, all right, to be, to become, shall be. This is important. Ayyeh is a call stem. All right. Now, before we dive into this, ladies and gentlemen, matter of fact, I'll read it first before we explain a little bit more about the grammar side of it. So let's go to, I'm at Safari.com. Safari is the Hebrew word which means library. Now I'm going to click on the word Tanakh. Tanakh is an acronym. The Tav, the Nun, and the Chav Sofit. Think of it as T and K. Torah, Navim, Ketuvim, Law, Prophets, Writings. Tanakh. All right. Now we're going to go to the Torah, and we're going to Sefer, which is a book. Shemot of Exodus. Perek was the chapter, or this right here says Perechim, which is chapters, but we're going to Perek, which is a chapter. And we're going to this word here, letter Gamel, which is the third letter in Hebrew, numerical value of 3, letting you know we're going to chapter 3, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what I'll do first is I'll go ahead and read, and what we'll do is we'll go back into the grammar, but it's something we need to look at, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll go ahead and read. It says, oh, and Hebrews read from right to left, not left to right. So it says, "Vayomer ki Aהיה imach vazelecha, haot ki anochi shalachticha, v'hoziatcha et ha'am mimisraim, ta'avdun et ha'elohim al ha'har hazeh." So, and he said, "But certainly I will be, or I shall be, imach with you." This is going to be important later, all right? Because I will be, all right? So it says, imach with you, vazelecha haot, and this shall be a token unto you, or sign, all right? Ki anoki shalachticha. I let you know, because I have sent, I have sent you, Behoziatka, all right, et ha'am, the Mizraim. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be important. We do the translation, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand grammar, all right? So, when he says, ki, that anoki, I, shalach sikha, have sent you, behoziadka, when you have been brought forth or brought out, and then we look at the word et, all right? The next thing we're going to look at is the word ha'am, all right? So let's go back, and we're going to get some understanding, all right? Hopefully you are following along. Let me go back, let's see, 1 second. Okay, wait, why is it not popping up? 1 second. Okay, there we go. I don't know what that was about. Okay. So, all right, so here it is. Bozi Adka, we're brought forth. Et Ha'am, the people. Mimizraim, from Egypt, to Avdun, you shall serve et, direct object marker, Ha-Elohim, God, al, upon, Ha-Har, Hazeh, this mountain. All right. So the first thing we see here is this word Ahayah that I have highlighted there. Ahayah. The Aleph, all right, Hey, Yod, Hey. This is what some of you all would say, Aleph, Ha, Yod, well, Yah, and Ha. All right. Ah, and that's what you will say, Ha. Those will form Yah, for those who understand it that way. But I want us to notice something, ladies and gentlemen. When looking at this passage, when he said, but certainly I will be, was that his name? Just give me a yes or no. In Exodus 3:12, when he said, for certainly I will be with you, was that him stating his name? We know the obvious answer is no. No one would say yes to that. So if you said no, all right, you're being unbiased and you understand that. But there's something I want to point out. Let's go to Exodus 3 real quick. Before we do, look at this. And he said, certainly I will be with you. Was that his name being stated there? No. Something I want to point out. I'm going to go to Exodus 3 and verse 12. And he says, certainly I will be with you. And this shall be a token or a sign unto you that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God upon this mountain, as I just got done explaining. So once again, so here, and he said, for certainly I will be imach with you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this word here is what I want to focus on. That is Iyeh. This is what you know as I will be. I will be. He's making a statement there, ladies and gentlemen. This is not him giving his name. I will be. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember we were talking about that grammar? Remember that? I was telling you that it is a call stem. Right? Remember what call does. The subject does the action itself. All right? The call stem expresses a direct or active action. All right? He wrote. He ate. He walked. He was. He became. He will be. All right? He will be. Now, Ahayah is what you know as the first persons. First persons, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means? This means he is speaking in the first persons. When he says, I will be, right there. That's very important. If someone says, today is the day we have a celebration, and I will be on my way to the venue to celebrate. When I said I will be, is that me giving my name? No. That's a call stem. As I got done explaining. Now, if I said, Tommy, I know you're afraid of heights, but just know that I will be with you when we skydive. Don't be afraid, Tommy, but I will be with you. Tommy is not going to take that as him saying his name. He's going to take that as him making the statement in the first persons. Now, somebody came and said, wait a minute, who's bungee jumping with Tommy? And someone else, and the person said, I am. I am. That is speaking in the first persons. From me to you. But if you're not going with Tommy, you won't say, I am. Why? Because you're not the one going. But what you will say is, he is. He is. Who? I am. I will be with Tommy. I am going with Tommy. This is proper grammar. And if you can understand this concept, then you can understand with the name Ahayah, Ahayah. And remember earlier we talked about a name. Shemi Yehuda. What that means is my name is Judah. All right? Who's Judah? I am. Anohi or Ani as well. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, when you say, who's going to be with Tommy doing a skydive? If you're going with him, you will say, I am. I'm sorry, I will be. But if you're not going, you will say, he is. That's very important because this is very, very relevant to Exodus chapter 3, verse 13 through 15. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and deal with this. So, remember once again in Exodus 3, verse 12, because people love to jump straight to verse 14, 13 through 15, but they may not know that right here, Ahyeh is there. Now let's click on Ahyeh. We see it has the root word of Ahayah, which is the same root word in Yod-Heh, Vav-Heh, or Yod-Heh, Wah-Heh. Now, believe it or not, this guy here, the elder of GOCC, when I did the Ahayah Ahayah video, if you will, he teaches that that the Masoretes put the name or the Tetragrammaton in our records, and he based it off a modern book, which we definitely want to talk about. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, even though the Dead Sea Scrolls predates the Masoretic period by a whole millennium, ladies and gentlemen, but that was his argument. So I'm going to show you that anybody who says Ahayah Ahayah may not know something. When you see here, Ahyeh, notice it says the English equivalent of I will be. Remember I told you earlier, who would be going skydiving with Tommy? I will be. I will be. Notice this word Ahyeh, the speech is a verb. The speech is a verb. That's important because remember I told you about a verb. What is a verb? They describe what is happening, what will happen, what continues to happen. I will be is an example of that. That's a verb. That is not a name. A name is a noun, not a verb. I'll repeat that. A name is a noun, not a verb. So, in Hebrew, we have verb stems. As I told you earlier, a stem tells you who causes the action, how the action happens, whether it is active, passive, or intensified. Think of stems like modes of action, as I was telling you earlier. Now, a cause stem is a direct or a active action. So, he wrote, he ate, he was, he will become, or I will be, or I shall be. That's why we see that the stem here is called. The tense is imperfect. It is an imperfect tense. Imperfect tense. This is important. That is describing an action that is incomplete or continual. I will be does not tell you you will be what before it's incomplete. Okay? Notice it's in the first persons. From me to you. It is common. Not masculine or feminine, but it's common. Something that you commonly say. And it's singular because one person is the one speaking. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is in the first persons. Who would be skydiving with Tommy? I am. Tommy, Judah, I'm scared. Do not be afraid, Tommy, for I will be with you. I will be with you. First persons. In Hebrew, we call it a call stem, ladies and gentlemen. It's a call stem. All right? Grammar matters. It's going to be very important when we dive through the text. If I say I will be or I shall be, is that me giving a name? No, it's not me giving a name, ladies and gentlemen. So, verbs would describe an action. He threw. He ran. Perfect tense versus imperfect tense. Perfect tense is words that are used to describe a completed action. Words that happened in the past tense or in the present tense. Such as Shamar, he watched. Mashal, he ruled. Okay? That being said, when you say Ahayah, he was, which is perfect tense. All right. Now, Ahayah can be, to become, to exist, shall be, will be, come to pass. That's going to be very important, ladies and gentlemen. So when we look at what's called imperfect tense, using grammatical rules, are the words that are used to describe an incomplete action, aka actions that are not complete. Imperfect tense can do that or describe verbs that happened in the future tense. All right, such as Mashal, he will rule. Batach, he will trust. All right, these are examples of imperfect tense. Therefore, it is incomplete. When you describe first persons, all right, when you say I will be, you are speaking in the first persons. You don't speak in the first persons unless you are speaking about yourself to someone. All right. So that being said, this is very, very important. Very important. I'll give another example before we dive into this. And please, ladies and gentlemen, watch the video that I did here because I go into more detail. Is Ahayah God's name?
So Jesus isn't the I am.
Let me correct something else. The tetragrammaton is also a deception. Okay, that wasn't the name that was given to Moses. The tetragrammaton is a Zionist, Jewish, satanic, sorcerous deception.
Make sure you watch this video because you get to see how me and the brother James White responded Hebraically. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the video is up. It's been up over 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. You can go and watch it. Now, that being said, we go back. I'm going to show you one more example before we come back here. Joshua chapter 3 and verse 7. It says, and the Lord said to Joshua, this day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will be. Is that him giving his name? No, because we see the name is right here. It literally starts with literally saying, V'ayemer Yehova el Yehoshua. Look at that. And what you call the Lord said to Joshua, Joshua. All right. Hayom Hazeh, this day. All right. So, but remember it says here, I will be with you. Ehyeh imach. This word Ehyeh, once again, notice this is a verb, not a noun, which means it's not a name. It's a verb. This is a call stem. This is imperfect. Remember I told you earlier about imperfect tense? This is in the first persons because this is him speaking. You see, grammar matters. You can't just insert your English understanding to an ancient text, an ancient language. So that being said, I will be or I shall be with you. Now, once again, when we look here, Vayemer ki Ahyeh imach. And he says, certainly I will be. Once again, it is a verb. It is in the first persons. Who would be skydiving with Tommy? I will be. I am. So, that being said, when we go to verse 13, let's deal with it. It says, Vayemer Moshe el ha-Elohim, hine anoki va el bnei Yisrael va'amarti lahem, Elohei avotechem shalachani alehem, va'amru li ma shemo ma omer alehem. And Moses said to God, hine, meaning behold, ani va el bnei Yisrael, when I come to the sons of the children of Israel, va'amarti, and say lahem to them. All right. Elohei, the God, avotechem, of your ancestors, the forefathers, my ancestors, shalachani, have sent me, alechem, unto you. Va'amru li, he's asking, and it shall say unto me, ma shemo, what is his name? Ma omer, what shall I say alechem, to them? All right. What shall I say to them is what he's asking there, ladies and gentlemen. Verse 14. Vayemer Elohim el Moshe, Ahyeh asher Ahyeh, Vayemer ko tomar levnei Yisrael, Ahyeh shalachani alehem. So, and God said el to Moshe, Moses, Ahyeh asher Ahyeh. That's what you know as Ahayah, Ashar, Ahayah. Go back. Hayah, Asher, Ahayah. That's what y'all say. We'll deal with that in a second. What's the King James translate? I am that I am. What's grammatically, I'm about to show you something. It says, Vayemer ko tomar levnei Yisrael, Ahyeh shalachani alehem. Now, before we do, when we look at this here, name, all right, Shemo, when you say, what is his name? Name doesn't always mean like a title, like, name doesn't always mean like Judah. It also means character, fame, or reputation. It's describing something, all right? It's going to be very important when we get here to verse 14. When we look at here, all right, he says, and God said to Moses, I will be what I will be, or I shall be what I shall be, which we finna deal with in a second. And he said, thus shall you say to the sons of the children of Israel, I will be, or I shall be, have sent me unto you. Now let's look at this first word here, Ahyeh. You notice something? This is the same thing that we went over earlier. This is a verb. Now wait a minute. Is a verb a name? No. Is a verb a noun? No. So grammatically, from the Hebraic perspective, when you say Ahayah, not only are you speaking in the first person as if you're the Most High, but that was a verb. So even if you said I am, or I shall be, or I will be, you're speaking in the first persons. Again, if somebody say, well, who owns a car over there? Right? Who's the owner of that car over there? I am. The person who's not the owner of the car can't say, I am. They can say, he is. He is. But the owner of the car would say, I am. Me. Who would be going to pick up Tommy from the store? I will be. Versus somebody says, he shall be. He shall be. You see the difference in grammar? The grammatical differences? It's the same thing in Hebrew. So keep this in mind. If you're saying that Ahayah is God's name, one of the first things you have to tell me is what is a noun and what is a verb. Here tells me that Ahyeh is not a noun. It is a verb. It's a verb. This is a call stem, ladies and gentlemen. You see that? Causing the action. It is imperfect because it is incomplete. And again, it's in the first persons. Why would you say Ahayah? Meaning, why would you say I am? Because you're not. He is, though. So the only person that can say Ahayah is the Most High, grammatically. But what you can say is He is. But what the Most High can say, I am. Again, what you will say, you won't say I am because you're not the Most High. Again, what you can say is He is, though. You can say that. You can say He exists. You can say that grammatically. So, this here, Asher. So, this is important. That, or who, or which. That's what that means. So, when you looked at Ahyeh, more properly, I will be, just like we saw in Exodus 3 and 12, which was a verb call stem. I will be that, or who, if you will. Notice it said that this speech is particle, and it says relative. Now, what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It says the speech is particle, right? A particle is a small grammatical word. It has no tense, like past, present, future. It has no person, like first or second persons. It has no action. It's not a verb, etc. It only connects or explains other words. It does not do anything by itself. When it says relative, as I have highlighted there, it links two clauses. It explains how one part relates to another. In English, it can mean which, who, or that. All right? So, that being said, when we look at Ahyeh Asher Ahyeh or Ahayah Asher Ahayah, grammatically it means I will be that or which I will be. So I will be that or which I will be. It's not the name of God. It simply connects two verbs. It's a connector, not a title, not a verb, not a name. So when you say Ashar, as in Ahayah Ashar Ahayah, what you don't know is that Ashar or Esher is a connector. It connects two verbs. In this context here, ladies and gentlemen, keep this in mind. Then again, we look at Ahyeh once again. That's a verb. A verb is not a noun. And it's in the first persons once again. It's in the first persons once again. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I want to show you something real quick before we come back to the next verse. We go a chapter over, right? Exodus 4 and 12. All right. Exodus 4 and 12. It says, V'ata lech v'anochi ehyeh imach picha v'horetika asher tedaber. So, now therefore, lech, go, the anochi, and I, that's what that means, and I, see that? It's a pronoun, it's personal, it's in the first person, it's common singular, it's in the first person. I, Ahyeh. Look at this, will be, or shall be. Notice this is a verb. This is a call stem. It's imperfect and it's in the first persons and it's singular. The gender is common. This is not the Most High giving his name. I will be im picha. See, let you know I will be im with picha, with your mouth or with your speech.
The name
See that?
is gonna live forever.
V'horetika asher tidabir. And teach you what you shall say, or what you shall speak. And teach you what you shall speak. Asher, there's the word asher. What? You see that? Notice it is a particle, it is relative. It is connecting the ber, a verb. You see that? It now is in the second person, from me to you. He's telling him what he shall speak. It's still imperfect. So, this is the connector, asher. But you all use that in God's name. When you say Ahayah, Ashar, Ahayah. That's a connector, ladies and gentlemen. But when we say I will be, is that a noun or a verb? This is what we got to start asking people, ladies and gentlemen. Just like I talked about the virgin birth grammatically, let's start dealing with people grammatically and make them explain grammatically. Grammatically, they have to admit that Ahayah, or who they call Ahayah, is a verb, not a noun. A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. A verb describes an action, hit, throw, etc. Run. Let's go back to Exodus 3:14 again. Vayomer Elohim el Moshe. And God said to Moses, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. I am, or I will be, which is a verb. That relative is a connector. I will be. That's a verb, not a noun. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, when we go to verse 15, it says, Vayomer od Elohim el Moshe, Ko tamar el bnei Yisrael, Yehwa Elohei Avosheichem, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Shalachani Alechem, Zeh Shemi leolam vazeh zichri ledor dor. Once again, Vayomer od Elohim el Moshe, Ko tamar el bnei Yisrael, Yehwa Elohei Avosheichem, Elohei Avosheichem, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Shalachani Alechem, Zeh Shemi leolam vazeh zichri ledor dor. So, and it says, and he says, what you call moreover, this here is important. It is an adverb. All right? It is an adverb. That means what, ladies and gentlemen? He's not done. It's not done. All right? So, when he says, Vayomer, and he said, Elohim, od Elohim. Moreover, God said, ladies and gentlemen. Now listen, remember, this old is an adverb. Not a verb, but an adverb. Adverb is a word that modifies a verb or an adjective by answering how, when, where, how much, in the matter. It does not name, it does not act. It describes how the action happens. How Hebrew handles adverb is important. Hebrew does not only rely on adverbs the way English does. Instead, Hebrew uses adverbial particles, propositional phrases, adjectives used adverbially, infinitives used adverbially. Hebrew, we have the word me'od. That can mean very. You can say tov me'od, very good, right? Atah, now, like I'm coming right now to the store. I'm on my way. Sham, there. Ko, so, or thus. Tamid, meaning continually. All right. So, lo, not, neither, or don't. Old, again, still. All right. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and continue because it's going to be very important as we dive through this. So, Vayomer od Elohim. There's more he has to say. El Moshe. To Moses. This is what you shall say to the sons of the children of Israel. Yehova Elohei Avosekim. The God of your fathers. This is the Tetragrammaton. Yod He Vav He Yehovah. Notice that this is a noun, not a verb. So when we see here, Yehovah, or what you call Jehovah,
Strong's H 3068. Yehovah.
Yehovah, aka Yehovah. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This word Yehovah, notice it has a root word. It has the same root word in Ahayah. Look at this. To be, to become, to pass, to exist, happen, about. That's when it's in what? The call stem, ladies and gentlemen. Just like what you saw earlier, when it's in the call stem, it means to be, to become, meaning shall, to happen, to fall out, to occur, to place, etc. To become and to being. See that? To appear, to come, to become. See that? To exist in existence, ladies and gentlemen. If it's in the fall, which is the passive tense, it means to occur, come to pass, be done, be brought about, to be done, to be finished, if you will. When you understand the verb stems, it helps you understand how to translate that in proper context. Because by knowing the grammar, you go back into the mindset of the author, that the author wrote it. When it's in a call stem, to become, to be, to exist. Got that? So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is a noun. It's a noun. So it says, Elohei Abraham, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, sorry about that. Elohei Yitzhak, the God of Isaac, the Elohei Yaakov, and the God of Jacob. Shalachani have sent me, Aleichem, to you. Zeh, meaning this Shemi is my name. Leolam, forever. Eternity. Perpetually. Vazeh, and this is Zechri Ledor, my memorial, a monument to all generations, ladies and gentlemen. So, when you all say Ahayah Shah Ahayah, you're speaking in the first person. You're saying you are, like you are the most high. That would be like somebody asking, well, who's the most high? And you say, I am. That grammatically doesn't make any sense. And no matter how you slice it, it is a verb, not a noun. It's a verb, not a noun. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? When you say this here, Yehoah, he is. He exists. So grammatically, if you're the most high, you would say, I am. Yeah. I am. I shall be. I will be. But if you're not the most high and you're describing who the most high is, you would say he is. He exists. He shall be. Grammatically, it makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. Grammatically, it does not. So remember, when you're here looking at this, ladies and gentlemen, that's a noun. It's a noun. So traditionally, it's known as I am who I am, or I am that I am. These are two verbs, ladies and gentlemen, when you look here. Ehyeh and Ehyeh are verbs, not nouns. It's verbs. So I will be who or what I will be. Moses is literally, he further instructed to say to the people, Ehyeh have sent me. Ehyeh have sent me. He went back and told them what he said. See that? It is a verb, not a noun. It is a verb, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you all are understanding that grammatically, you can't say Ahayah, Asher, Ahayah, or Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh, because you are not the Most High. You're not the Most High. So, when you look at Ahayah, the use of that in the context of Yehova, his mighty and miraculous deliverance of Israel, that would be more properly grammatically. How is it that when you're saying Ahayah, you're not realizing that you're saying a verb? You're saying a verb. So, the Hebrew itself, Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh, as we learned earlier, as we see here, there's a call stem. It's in the first persons. It's imperfect. When we look at the root word right here, ladies and gentlemen, the root word lets us know what? Hey, yod, hey is the root word. Relative particle, that, which, who. So grammatically, the subject is I, the aspect is imperfect and complete unfolding. Not fixed to the past, since existence or becoming. Not frozen in present state. So what the imperfect actually does is key. The Hebrew imperfect does not strictly means present tense, ladies and gentlemen. It describes incompleted action, ongoing. That is why Ehyeh here, ladies and gentlemen, the inflected word that's in the text. That's why the inflected word legitimately means I will be, I shall be, or I am becoming, or I'm continuing to be. Biblical Hebrew does not have a true present tense verb for to be. So reading I am into it as a fixed present is already an interpretive decision, not grammatically necessity. While I am that I am, again, is first persons. Why am I speaking that if I'm not the Most High? That makes no sense. It wasn't his literal name, but him saying he will be. The statement is known as self-referential revelation, not a name tag. I will be who I will be, meaning for you. I will prove myself to be what I chose to be. That fits perfectly with this grammar here. Ehyeh, imacha, with you. It's the same verb form in Exodus 3:12. Here. Same verb form. Same words. Ehyeh, once again, it is a verb. But Ehyeh, spoken by him, legitimate, he would be the subject. A human, you can't say that. Again, just like, again, as I said earlier, the owner can truthfully say, I am the owner of that car in response to ownership. Others can't say that. They can only say that he is. That's why the scripture consistently uses he is, he exists for this name here. He is, he exists. And that's what you get, Yehova or Yehovah. So it's in the, so when you look at Ehyeh, the verb, Ehyeh, that's in the first person. It's imperfect. It's imperfect. It's imperfect. So, if he wanted a Hebraically honest English sense, it would be closer to I will be who I will be. To anybody that's asking that. Or I will be what I prove myself to be. That preserves the context and most of all the grammar. So when you look at Ahayah versus, go here, Ahayah versus Yehwa, ladies and gentlemen, Ahayah again is first person, verbal. They both had the same root words. One's a verb, the other was a noun. Remember, a verb is not a name. Spoken by the Most High by himself. Context is key. It's tied to the action, the promise. I will be, I shall be. Moses asks, who are you? God responds relationally. He immediately goes to say, Kol tomar Ehyeh shalachani. Thus shall you say, Ehyeh have sent me. Thus shall you say, Ehyeh have sent me. See, that's functional speech, not a name. Just like I will be there or I will handle it. Now, when you look at Yehwa, let's go back here. Yehwa. Again, that's a noun. That's a noun. In the third person, ladies and gentlemen, has the same root word. Third person, known as causative. What it is a proper name spoken by others about him. That's what it is. That's what it is. So the grammatical relationship, that is the key site. When you say Ehyeh, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back. When you say Ehyeh, that's the Most High speaking about himself, I will be. But when you say Yehwa or Yehovah, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? That's humans speaking of God. He is. He exists. That's intentional. Hebrew does this consistently. God never says he is. Humans never say I will be, meaning about him, or I am about him, grammatically, because names are spoken from outside. Self-reference uses verbs. So when you look at I am, ladies and gentlemen, that can become dangerous in your English doctrine, because English collapse or falls on two things. Hebrew keeps them separate. First, the person who is speaking, or two, the aspect, how existence is expressed. So, grammatically, you can't say I am. When you say I am, you're saying you the Most High from the Hebraic aspect. Only the owner of the person can say I am, to whom that person is the owner or in ownership. But you can say he is. We all say he is. The Most High says I am. We say he is. The Most High says I am. So when you say he is, you're saying Yehwa. This here, when you say I am or I shall be, you're calling yourself that. And grammatically, that's wrong. It's wrong. When you look at, again, Ehyeh, ladies and gentlemen, once again, that is a verb. A verb is not a name. The Most High says I will be. Humans say he is. If you say I am into a name, that breaks Hebrew grammar. Saying I am about one's self in a divine sense is false speech. You're not him. Think about that. You have to understand the difference in the grammatical differences. You have to. The grammar, the imperfect tense, first person versus third person distinction, the Exodus 3 context, why I am is not a proper name as in Johnny, Tommy. And why you all who are claiming it is are in error. You are in error, ladies and gentlemen. Grammatically, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense grammatically. You can't say that because you're not the Most High. For example, we're going to go to 2 Samuel real quick. 2 Samuel 7 and 14. 2 Samuel 7 and 14. When it says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. I will be. Is this him making a statement, or is this him saying, oh, this is my name? This is his name. No. It literally says, Ani, Ehyeh, Lo, La'av. I will be his father. Look at this word, Ehyeh. Same word. That's what y'all say, Ahayah. Will be. Ehyeh, it is a verb. It is a call stem. It is in perfect tense. It is first person, common, singular. See that? First person, common, singular. Look at that. Let's go to Job, chapter 3 and verse 16. And I think about it. Or as an hidden untimely birth, I had not been as infants which never saw light. Is Job saying God's name here? I had been not? Huh? Look at this. Yeah. There it is. I had been. That's a verb, not a noun. Call, imperfect. First person's common singular. That's not Job saying that God's name's Ahayah. That's not Job saying his name. Think about this. Let's go to another one. Hosea 1 verse 9. Then said God, call his name Leomi, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God. Is he saying Ahayah right there? Like that's his name? Lo Ehyeh lachem. See that? Lo is in the negative. Ehyeh will not be. Lechem, your. Let's see. Will be. It is a verb, call stem, imperfect, first person, common, singular. Let's go to chapter 14. Hosea 14 might be verse 6. His branches shall spread and his beauty, look at this, shall be. His beauty shall be. Look at that. His beauty shall be, ladies and gentlemen. The he. But look at the same root word. See that? Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. It's still a call stem. Joseph. Third persons. Joseph is used to issue a command in the third persons. There's a command given to one person, but a concern with another. For example, let him go is directed at the person being spoken to, but is concerned with a third party. Notice we see the same root word there because the brother wanted to know, what does that mean? What does that mean? Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. Let's go to Judges right quick now. Think about it. Judges chapter 6. Judges chapter 6 and 16. And the Lord said unto him, surely I will be with you. Now wait a minute. But Yemer Eli, Yehua, Ki Iye. See that? Look at that. And the Lord said to him, surely, Ahyeh, I will be imach with you. I will be, look at that, I will be, it is a cause stem, imperfect, first person common singular. That is a verb, not a noun. Just like when we go back to Exodus 3, verse 12 once again. Same phrase, V'yomer ki Ahyeh imach. And he said, but certainly I will be imach with you. I will be. It is a verb, not a noun. Call stem, imperfect first persons. How are you saying I am? You're not the Most High. When we go to Exodus chapter 20 in the 10 Commandments, it literally says, "V'daber Elohim et kol havarim halelemor." And God spake at direct object marker all these words, these lemor. So all these words saying. Verse 2. Anaki Yehova Elohecha, I am the Lord your God, Asher. I go to word Asher again. It is a particle relative. It's a connector. So I, the Lord your God, who, the particle, Hosesika brought you, Mi'res, from the land, Mizraim of Egypt, Mibeit Avadim, from the house of slavery, the house of bondage. When we look here, the word Yehovah, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. That's used as a noun, not a verb. Make sure you watch this video right here. Is Ahayah God's name? To get the other half of this, ladies and gentlemen, so you can understand the grammatical differences in grammar. So when you're saying that God's name is Ahayah, you can't say that. You can't say that. But you can say he exists. In Hebrew, you're speaking in first persons. And then remember, that's a verb. The name in that context, reputation, authority, character, fame, because we're with shame, which you say sham, if you will. Grammatically, makes no sense because it's a verb. This guy here,
everyone worship Satan.
Like,
Really?
even though it's right there in the Hebrew text we were just looking at.
Exactly, because you have to realize the Masoretes, with their evil, took their hands and looked to ascribe their God in our records. And we're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Wait. What? Now, wait a minute now. Look, y'all. Now, did y'all catch that? Listen to what he says here. His whole argument so far on why the Tetragrammaton is satanic is because of the Masoretes. The Masoretes. Now, if anybody know about the Masoretes and the Masoretic text or the MT text, you know already that this dude is straight line. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that. Basically, he's saying that the Masoretes and their evil, basically he said that they inject the name of their God in our records. And I guess he must have thought that this man was just going to sit back and say nothing, just let him get away with it. See, that's why y'all got to pay attention to what these people be saying. And if you don't know history, you're going to fall to it. You're going to fall to it. So his argument, the Masoretes, matter of fact, which came on the scene an entire millennium after the Isaiah scrolls dates back to, because remember, was founded, the scrolls were found between 1946 and 1947, I believe, but it dates back 1,000 years before the Masoretic period. This is crazy. So the Masoretes did their work around let's say the 7th to the 10th century AD or whatnot. And some would say between the 6th and the 10th, 6th and 11th, whatever. But anyway, it's way after the date of the Isaiah scrolls, and the Tetragrammaton is in it. So how in the world is he bold enough to say that? He gonna bring the Masoretes into this? When some of the oldest manuscripts date back to about 9th century AD, give or take? This man isn't about to let him just get away with that. Neither was I. So it's funny. It's just like somebody saying, "Oh yeah, my cousin, about to have a baby, and the baby is due to be born in 2019, but yet he saw Dr. King die." People were like, "What? You weren't even thought of. In fact, his parents weren't even thought of. What are you talking about?" But that man wanted to let him get away with that. Watch and pay very close attention. He's about to slaughter this doctrine. Pay very close attention. All right? Because this is sad.
Really?
Even though it's right there in the Hebrew text we were just looking at.
Exactly, because you have to realize the Masoretes, with their evil, took their hands and looked to ascribe their God in our records. And we're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Wait. I just can't let that pass. I can show you the Isaiah.
But you have to let me explain what I'm saying, and then you can just repeat.
You do that for long periods of time. The fact of the matter is, the Masoretes flourished when? When did they do their work? Do you know?
Listen, you just come on.
Other words, I don't know.
No, you don't. The point is, you don't know. And the fact of the matter is, the Isaiah scroll. Listen. No. Listen. I've been extremely patient.
Okay.
The Isaiah scroll. Listen. No, you listen to me for once. You keep saying, "Listen to me," and I'll explain. Okay. Right. Let me explain something to you. The Isaiah scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls comes from 1,000 years before the Masoretic period, and it contains the Tetragrammaton. It can't have come from the Masoretes. That is a historically laughable assertion.
I didn't say it came from the Masoretes.
Yes, you did.
He sure did. Y'all see that?
No, I didn't. I said the Masoretes was behind the deception.
Okay, so look, let's run this clip back, because you can already see right now he dancing, and you can tell he know that he's in error. So he said, in one breath, he brought up the Masoretes and basically said that they injected the name of God into our records. Then he turns around and say that he did not say the Masoretes when you clearly did. And even if you did not say that, and if you were not implying that, you bringing them up shows that you really don't know and understand history. You are purposely trying to learn purpose. So by you even bringing them up in the first place, no matter if you bringing them up as your source, you bringing them up as your resource, you bringing them up as the people who did it or the ones who are behind it, you have no argument. Why? Because they come a whole 1,000 years later. So he say he didn't.
I hope y'all understand that. Why mention a group of people that comes to existence 1,000 years later than the Dead Sea Scrolls are dated to? That makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. That shouldn't even be in his vocabulary.
He said, let's run the clip back and let's see what y'all got from it. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe me and James is just not understanding. So let's see what you all get from it. All right. Because clearly we see his main source is who he believes inspired this, which is who you know as the Masoretes. This comes a whole millennium after the Dead Sea Scrolls was even dated. So let's run that back and let's see what he said earlier, since his argument is, I didn't say that.
Even though it's right there in the Hebrew text we were just looking at.
Exactly, because you have to realize the Masoretes, with their evil, took their hands and looked to ascribe their God in our records. And we're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Wait.
So now we heard he just brought up the Masoretes. Now let's bring the clip back and let's go pick up where we left off.
Laughable assertion.
I didn't say it came from the Masoretes.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I said the Masoretes was behind the deception.
Okay, then it's in Isaiah, right?
When I say behind listen, it would be juvenile to say the Masoretes created the Tetragrammaton when the Masoretes didn't come around until about the 1st century, and then you listen, and then you had the
much later
Israelites who fell to that God 500 years before Christ. Yahweh in the Tetragrammaton is the Canaanite God, and the Jewish powers, the Zionists, know this. A matter of fact, when you look at a book, Okay, when I say that around the 6th to the 11th century, let me correct
Now I ain't got to correct it because he knew he was wrong.
myself on the Masoretes. Between the 6th and the 11th century, the Masoretes came on the scene and began to take our records once we fell and began to inject this name all over the earth. But again, that name is the Canaanite God, Yah.
So you see that? So did they inject Yehova in the Isaiah scrolls?
Meaning power, and Hava, which means mischief, fallen one. That's Satan himself. And a matter of fact, there's a book out now. Okay, it's called The Illuminati 2.
Illuminati 2. That's what he's talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I want you all to keep in mind that he is using a book that just came out 2 days ago to describe his doctrine as his primary source.
It goes into the fact that the Tetragrammaton is the god Lucifer. Okay, and the Masoretes and the Masons know this. So that injection happened not only in Hebrew, and again.
So wait. So you're telling me that when Isaiah 44:2 says, "Thus says Yahweh," that this is a corruption of the scriptures?
Yes.
And your evidence for this is a book about the Illuminati?
No.
Okay.
Then why did you just mention it?
Hey, what's your historical evidence for it?
You hear that? What is your historical evidence? Historical evidence. Historical evidence. Let's see if he answers this question directly, or let's see if he duck, dance, and dodge and try to explain his way out of it. Let's be honest with ourselves, regardless if you say his name is Ahayah. Let's see if he answers this, or let's see if he ducks this. Let's see. The question is, what is your historical evidence for this? Meaning saying that the name Yahweh or Yehova is injected into the scrolls by a group of people that didn't even exist at this time, which is impossible to make this argument. But let's continue. It's impossible using chronological order. That's impossible because it didn't even exist. But let's see if he answers.
Textually speaking.
Okay. In the scriptures.
Yeah.
Okay. The Most High himself give Moses his name.
He asks historical. Now watch this though.
Ahayah, Ahayah, right there in Exodus 3.
So he just ran from that. Now remember, we already learned that Ahayah, Ahyeh, is a verb, not a noun. He said that's a name. How is that a name when a name is a noun, not a verb?
And he says, this is my name forever throughout all generations.
He said Yehova was his name throughout all generations forever.
Notice he running from the question, and it shows that he don't know Hebrew, and he just making this stuff up as he go along. And notice, see, y'all gotta pay attention to what his argument is. In one breath, he said it was a Masoretes. Next breath, he said, "Oh, they're inspired in a sense, in a nutshell, is what he's saying." But then he turn around and backpedals, use this book, the Illuminati 2, as his claim, as his proof of claim. But then when the man asked him, "Well, what is your historical evidence?"
Did he give historical evidence, or did he go right to Exodus 3 and give us a verb?
Technically speaking, what did he do? He started ducking and dodging the question and going off into something that he didn't ask. What is your historical evidence for this? You have no historical evidence for it at all. Period. You just making claims and hoping that he'd go for it and catch the fish. Nah, it don't work like that, bruh. You can't just be making claims and then you got no proof and no evidence to support your proof of claim at all. If this was court, it would have to be dismissed due to lack of evidence.
Literally. It'd have to be dismissed. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, when we look here, Yehova, that is a noun. That's a noun. You see that? That's a noun. No one can deny that. It's a noun. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me do something else for us as well. Let me hold on one second. I'm gonna do something else for us as well. Because remember, as we just seen, that's a noun. Now, the book Illuminati 2. All right. This is page 130. It says, the name Yehovah, or the tetragrammaton just means the 4 letters, in case you didn't know, was injected into the text of the Old Testament by the Pharisees and others who practice Babylonian Satanism, is what he says here, ladies and gentlemen. He says the precursor to Kabbalism and Talmudism. For those who don't believe the Talmud is satanic, it proclaims that Christ is in hell, boiling in excrement and semen. And then it gives the actual passage there, ladies and gentlemen. Gideon 56b and 57a. Then it says, an agreement was forged between the Jewish Masoretes and the Catholic Church in 1000, which is 10th century, ladies and gentlemen, AD, to change the name of God into the Hebrew Old Testament to the pagan name Yahweh or Jehovah via the Tetragrammaton. Now, wait a minute. So, I thought that this elder didn't say the Masoretes. This is where he got this from, ladies and gentlemen. But the Dead Sea Scrolls predates what we're reading here. So already we can see from a chronological aspect, this is impossible to be. It says, this explains Rosenthal saying, we are amazed by the Christians' stupidity in receiving our teachings and propagating them as their own. In Henry Ford's words, the Christians cannot read his Bible except through Jewish spectacles and therefore reads it wrong. Then it gives the source. Then International Jew, volume 4, page 238. Then we have the section here, God's real name. It says the demonic disdain for humanity exhibited by the Luciferian Jew, Harold Rosenthal, all right, it says, typifies the end result of a legal amalgamation, Jewish religious ritual combined with the worship of knowledge and self. The Jews of the people, by rejecting God and or accepting Jehovah, have been given over to a reprobate mind, being filled with all unrighteousness. And it takes that passage out of context. Then it says, of course, Mr. Rosenthal was a member of an elite, openly satanic minority among the Jewish people. Everyday Jews do not know that the God of their faith is in fact Satan hidden behind a mystical name. It is of no conscience to Satan whether he is worshipped deliberately or through subtle lies and deceptions. Now here we go with the good part. The wise Solomon asks, what is God's name? To my Proverbs 30:4. Oh, yeah, it's right there. What is God's name and what is his son's name, if thou can tell? God's name, and it's funny because as you see right here, they spell it backwards. This is how you know just horrible grammar. It's supposed to be right to left, not left to right. This literally says, well, and how they would say it, Ahayah, if will, because they got it backwards. But it says sometimes translated as Ahayah, transliterated as Ahayah, not transliterated. It's what it says in the text, meaning I am. This is the name given to Moses along with the Torah, the law. And God said to Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shall you say to the children of Israel, I am have sent me unto you. This is my memorial to all generations. And it gives Exodus 33, 14 and 15. And it says, I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt no other gods before me. Exodus 32, 4 and 5, etc. But we have some problems here, ladies and gentlemen. We have some problems. So, the claim, the lie, God's real name is Ahayah or Ayyeh, and Yehoah is satanic, pagan, or fake. Y'all, this claim is built on 3 errors. If anyone fails, then if anyone fails, the whole doctrine collapses. All three will fail. Number one, they turn a verb into a name. We've already established that. Ahyeh is a verb. Its call stem in the first person means I will be. So grammatically, it's incorrect to say that. You can't say that. Remember, verbs are not names. A noun can be a name. First person verbs cannot be titles spoken by others when dealing with Hebrew grammar. If Ahayah were a name, Moses would have used it, meaning as a noun. The prophets would use it as a noun. Psalms would praise it, but they never do. This is fatal to the argument, this is my name forever. Well, a name, again, is a noun. But what name was given forever? We read it earlier, Yehova, not Ahyeh or Ahayah, not I will be. God himself defines his name. God himself. You can't name God. God names himself. Calling Yehova satanic is calling God's own declaration false. So when people say that, they don't understand the person shift in Hebrew. That's basic Hebrew grammar. Yeah, it's first person. God speaking about himself. Third person, Yehovah or Jehovah, that's us speaking about God. God says I will be or I am. Humans say he is or he causes to be. That's not doctrine, that's grammar. If you reject Yehovah because it's in third person, you're rejecting how Hebrew works. And then you call it blasphemy. Yet it's mentioned nearly 7,000 times by Moses, David, Isaiah, Jeremiah, all the prophets, long before the Pharisees even existed. It appears in Psalms, the Torah. Wasn't no Pharisees back then. Come on now. This is insane. But where does this doctrine come from? Books like this. Not Hebrew, not no manuscripts, not no grammar. It comes from surface level interlinear abuse, if you will. People repeating what their other people say, and people not understanding grammar. Ahyeh, or who you call Ahayah, is a verb that God spoke. Yehovah is the name that God gave. And calling it satanic, that's wicked. Linguistically, that's Hebrew grammar, context, scripture. Literally. You all are taking this too far by dissing God's name. Taking it too far. And it gets deeper than this. But ladies and gentlemen, once you get this book and once you start learning Hebrew grammar, etc., you will quickly see this is incorrect. This is false. Saying that, you all have to learn Hebrew grammar, basic Hebrew grammar, to quickly be able to dismiss this lie. This was in the Dead Sea Scrolls that predates people like the Masoretes by a millennium, 1,000 years. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do better. And again, no matter if you want to stick to that, remember it's a verb, not a noun. Ahyeh or Ahayah is a verb, not a noun, spoken in the first persons. So again, you can't use that grammatically because you are not the Most High. You're not the Most High. You're not the Most High. I want to show you something else also. When it comes to the Hebrew language, ladies and gentlemen, Yehowa or Yehovah, I want to show you something. I'm going to pull this up real quick so you all can see this. Okay. So, Let me reshare the screen real quick. You see this right here? The yod is this letter here, which is a hand, the 10th letter in Hebrew. The hay, which is this right here. And then you see the vav, which can also be a wa, which is this letter here. And then you see the hay, which is this letter here. Now, this is known as the pictograph, where the pictures tell the story. Okay? So when you look at yod, it means it's a hand. When you look at the letter hay, it's a window or a man lifting his hands up. Behold. And it can also mean the. Behold and the. The vav or a wa is a nail or a peg. And then the hay again, which is behold and the. When you put this together, it means behold the hand. Behold the nail. So the crucifixion of Christ is in the very name that they call satanic. Let that sink in. The crucifixion of Christ is in what they call satanic. Behold the hand, behold the nail. That's a crucifixion that is mentioned in the name of Yehova. The same thing that they call satanic. Think about that. When you say Yah, which is the yod and hay, it just means behold the hand. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been lied to. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody. Watch this video right here and you can get you some understanding, ladies and gentlemen. You can get you some understanding. Now, to the person that asked the question, when he said, let me add this here so it can be clearly in the Hebrew, obviously people who speak and translate Hebrew recognize the name. We do. We recognize it as Yehova. We do. He says, now I'm waiting for the definition of Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. There you go. Ehyeh is a verb. It's in the first person, imperfect tense, common singular. Ehyeh, which has a root word. The context depends on how it is used. Why? Because if it's in the fall, which is a verb stem, guess what? That's in the passive. If it's in the call stem, like we saw earlier, then that there will be, shall be. So, nafar, to become, etc. That's why it's more grammatically sound to say he is, which is Yehova. So when you asking what does it mean, it depends on the stems. Binyamin, verb stems, because a verb stem can change the meaning of the word. So you ask somebody what it means, you have to ask what does it mean in this stem or grammatically in this context. Then you got to ask, is Ehyeh or Ahayah, is that a noun or is that a verb? And then they'll tell you, well, that's a verb. A name isn't a verb, right? No, you're right, it's not. A noun is a name, though. So asher, that's particle relative. It's the connector. It connects the one verb to the other, the Ehyeh. And we already know what Ehyeh means. So, that being said, grammatically, even if you don't want to subscribe to the truth, what you just heard grammatically, you can't hide the fact that that is a verb, not a noun. A noun, again, is a person, a place, and a thing. You can't deny that. Verb stems in Hebrew, remember, as I said earlier, Hebrew verbs don't just have tense, they have stems. Binyamin in Hebrew is just a building, in other words. This stem will tell you who caused the action, how the action happens, and whether it is active or passive. Active or passive. If you've been watching my videos about the virgin birth, you know what I brought out about active and passive. So think of the stems like actions, all right? Call, active action. So, that being said, the root word, Ahayah, to be, to become, Ahayah. In this context, it is a call stem. It's in the first person, I. The aspect of it is imperfect, incomplete, unfolding, meaning I will be, I shall be, I will continue to be, I will show myself to be. It describes God's ongoing action, not his label, as in a literal name like Tommy, if you will. Yet is a verb in the call stem first persons, describing an ongoing action. It cannot grammatically function as a name. Names are nouns, fixed identifiers, spoken about somebody. Verbs are actions spoken by someone, time sensitive and contextual. So, part of speech, action word, verb. Name is a noun. Think about that. So, changes with person from a verb? Yes. A name? No. Changes with tense? Like past, etc. Future? With a verb? Yes. With a name? No. Spoken by a speaker? If it's a verb, yeah. A name? No. Example, I will be versus David. A verb describes an action, and the call stem is the simplest active form of that action. So Ahayah means I will be or I shall be, not his name as you're thinking about. That is what I mean by that. Hold on, let me tell my brother text him back later because he texted me. 1 second. I'm on my laptop. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back. Let me show you real quick. Let me share my screen. Hold up, wait. Turn to show my screen again. Boom, there we go. We see here Yehova is a noun, right? We go to Exodus 3:14 again. Ehyeh, what you call Ahayah, you see again that's a verb and it's in the call stem. When we look this up in the Strongs, you will see that it is a verb, not a noun. Hayah, the root word in the call stem. See that? Then you see Nafal. These are verb stems. These are verb stems, ladies and gentlemen. Verb stems. Call stem, Nafal stem. Depends on how you use this verb stem, tells you what it means. So the root we're dealing with, which is here, hey yod hey, ladies and gentlemen, again, it's a verb. The idea to be, to become, to exist. This root appears in multiple stems, and the stem changes the meaning. You've been watching my videos, you know this already though. Call stem is simple, active. Ahayah, earlier, right? Call stem, first person, imperfect, active. That's active voice, meaning I will be, I will continue to be, I shall be. The subject does the action. This is self-statement, not a name. When you look at the Nafal stem, as you see here, ladies and gentlemen, that's passive of the call stem, sometimes reflective. Be shown, become known, if you will. Meaning he was made. He came to be. He became. Key difference from Ahayah. The subject is receiving the state, not initiating. Ahayah is not Nafal. it is what? Call, not nafal. God is not saying I was made or I became by another. So grammatically, you are disrespecting the Most High. When you look at the hip heel stem, causative active. What hip heel does, that stem, it causes something else to happen. So with hey yo hey here, if it was a hip heel stem, that root rarely appears in hip heel, but when it does, the idea is to cause to be or bring into existence. Conceptual meaning, not the case in Exodus 3 and 14. I cause others to exist. Ahyeh is not hip heel. God is not making a philosophical claim here, if you will. So in the call stem, I will be. Simple self-statement. Nifal, he became, he was made. Hip heel, conceptual, he causes to be, causative. So when you know these verb stems and you explain to them why this destroy that doctrine, ladies and gentlemen, if Ahyeh were meant as a name, it would be a noun. External essence would require a what they would call a philosophical framing. Causation, it will require hip heel stem. Self-origin, it will require nifal discussion, if you will. But none of that's the case. It is call stem. It is a verb, is in a first persons. If call, I will be, it's call, I will be, not hifal, I was made, not hifal, hip heel, I caused to be. Therefore, grammatically, it cannot function as a divine name. Grammar closes this case, ladies and gentlemen. It closes this case. So grammatically, the multiple ways you can't say Ahayah or Ahyeh because you're speaking in the first person and it's a verb. That's the long story short. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is helpful for somebody. I need Yehova, which is I am the Lord, Eloheka. I'm the Lord your God. I can't say that. No. I can't say that. But what I can say is I need Yehuda. I am Judah, Hayora, the shooter, because the shootout scripture information. You can't say I need Yehuda, Hayora, because that's not you. But you can say he is. He is. Who's jumping off this airplane going skydiving with Tommy? I am. Why? Because I will be with him. But you can say he is. He will be with him. Verb stems can change the meanings, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom.